Okay.
Work hard. It's Meng On MENG. Almost on time. Sorry, running a little late. I was Minecrafting and got lost. So I was
That
like,
happens.
I can't jump off until I find my way back.
One day I just dug straight down for like an hour and then realized, oh, this is going to be a big waste of my time.
Honestly, I don't ever look at digging as a waste of time.
When you're down in the depths and you're close to that nether and all the lava's bubbling, sometimes you gotta say, did I dig too deep? Did I dig too deep?
Never. Never. Colin, how are you tonight?
Maintaining and tired of complaining. So I'm doing great. How about yourself, man?
I'm all right. I was very hurt by your review of Kill List.
I was so like, legit. I had like a discussion with Tony. I'm like, I didn't like this movie at all, and I know Ben likes it, and I don't.
I did like it. I liked it in the like I don't need to see this again way.
Mm-hmm.
And you were like, I don't need to see this again. I was like, well, at least we agree on that.
Yeah, no. And here's the thing: is like I watched that 2 times in like 12 hours. Yeah, because so we watched last night. We watched Let Me In, which that was so fun. I totally bought into it, and I was like gasping at parts, and I was like screaming at my television at parts.
Best.
It was wonderful, and they do so much with so little. Like, there's a child character in there that is absolutely terrifying, and more for the damage he's received. And it was intense, and I loved it. And then like I was like, all right, let's do this. And I know this is going to be a bit of a rough one. Everyone says this is kind of a brutal movie, so I'm going to do it. And I'm going to have so I had like a beer and 2 beers, and I was like,
I had 1 beer.
At 2. I had about 3 beers. Steve Weiser's. And I was like, when the credits rolled, I was like, did this affect me? Like, did the beer, not the movie affected me, but did the beer? So then this morning, first thing after working out, I watched it again, and I don't know if that was the right choice either. I maybe should have just left it at that one viewing and just been like, hey, this is what it was. But yeah, I don't know. There's given a chance to edit that movie a little more and maybe take away what I would call some of the deliberate obtuseness of it, I think there's an awesome movie to be had. But there's just some things that just, I don't know, man. I don't know. And like, I don't mind a shitty protagonist, but I couldn't find a thing about that guy to like, and that made it hard.
I think that was the point.
Yeah, it was just, I don't know.
He was a bad guy who was trying to, walk a road where he thought he was doing good.
Yeah.
And also, I wish they would have kind of, hey, Super Spike. Wish they would have gone a little bit more in depth on what happened why he took that time off.
Yeah, the job that they just allude to it. Like,
I think.
Yeah, if they had just, I would have loved them to speak on that a little more. And there's just things that kind of come out a left field a little bit, and like I had to like backtrack to be like, did they set this up? Like the wife, like all of a sudden she's just like popping off that gun, and I'm just like, what?
Yeah, she was in the military.
And then it's like, oh yeah, okay, yeah. Like, so
she knew, like everything they were doing, she approved of it.
It was, I don't know.
That also was like, your husband is a fucking wreck, and you're like okay with what he's doing.
Yeah, it was.
You are like, also a fucking wreck.
Like, just, it was just like so. Cause it was so weird because they had such a just like incredibly dysfunctional relationship. Like, she was so enabling, but also like so not disapproving of what he was doing, but like disapproving of him as a person, almost, I guess. There was
just like a lot of,
it was bitter,
like almost like disappointment, but also that kind of like you love who you love.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
And
they like had a real weird like codependent
yes. Yeah.
like orbit around each other that was just like the height of not good.
No, yeah, and I'm still puzzled at that end. That like
I love the ending. So have you ever heard of a song? Have you ever heard a song called "The Island" by Dark Stillside Thickets?
I don't think I have. No.
That's what the ending of that movie reminds me
of. Okay. And I don't mind a bizarre ending. I don't, but it didn't.
Well, if you
with
don't
her laughing, it was just like, huh?
If you didn't, I think it was the fact that he finally killed her.
Oh, okay. So she was just like laughing at the situation of it all. I was like,
it was like this is how I die.
Yeah.
Everyone was like, you're a piece of shit, and I always was like sticking up for you, taking up for you, and you ended up killing me.
Although it was just
and our child.
Oh God, that was just the first time I watched that though, I was laughing so hard. Like it was
I was just like, to me
it was so strange.
It was so weird. I liked the chapter stuff.
Yes, that was cool.
It kind of had the feel of, to me, a little like Mandy.
In that
respect.
Totally.
Like where it was like, okay, you're taking me on a journey, and then at the end I was like, oh, that's the journey. That's a hell of a journey you just took me on. But again, I liked it, and I respect the fact that you didn't.
Yeah, no, and it's great that you do enjoy it, because I can see it in, like, I don't know, like I can see how people can enjoy it. And
well, that's the thing I find most frustrating about movies like that, is when you're like, this has the bones of a great movie.
That's what that was for me.
How did they just completely miss the mark?
And especially, it just missed it for me. And the thing is like, I know everyone who's in that is a completely competent player all around, from top to bottom. Everyone involved in that movie, even the guy I wasn't a fan of as the protagonist, I looked him up. I'm like, oh, I really do like him in that. Like, and and the director Ben Wheatley is fantastic. He's A Field in England is
I really
great.
That's what led me to this movie, was
A
Field in England, because I was like, oh, this movie's wild.
Yeah. And he did a really, really fun, pulpy kind of shoot 'em up throwback called Free Fire that I really enjoyed.
Spike, you're the best.
I respect the fact that he respects the fact that you didn't. Yeah, well, that's how it goes, baby. Hey, check out this little turtle grandma.
Oh,
this is a completely new minifig body build that they introduced with this set, and I love it. I love this little lady. I want to get more of this, hopefully at a discounted price, this set, just for this figure, because I think she will be the body of many wonderful wizards and apothecaries and hermits and good old witchy ladies in the village when I'm building the rest of my fantasy world up. Boom.
So can I talk about a movie I watched today?
Absolutely.
On a whim, I watched all of a sudden I forgot, the Elizabeth Harvest.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever heard of that.
Oh my God, was it good?
Okay, basic plot.
Do you know the fairy tale of Bluebeard?
Yeah. The guy who killed his wives, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he he brings his wives and he gives them everything, but they can't go into one room.
Yes. Yeah.
This is that story in a modern age. Do you want me to like give you a little bit of a spoiler?
Is it going to?
It will not ruin the movie, but
okay,
it'll make the movie even more wild. The woman is a clone, and he has a bunch of clones of the same woman.
Oh.
That's all I'm going to say about it, because there's more to it than that.
Why does it sound like it's going to get really gross?
It's wild. It's a wild ride, and a bunch of the movies told in flashback, which is also a very interesting choice.
What What year was this?
You know what? I've got it open on Shudder. I'll tell you right now.
Is this a
2018. Sebastian Gutierrez was the director. Abby Lee's the main actress. Siren Hinz, who I
Ooh,
absolutely love, is the
yes.
main male lead. Carla Gugino, I can't remember
Oh,
her
Carla
name.
Gugino. Yeah, yeah.
She is fucking great in this movie.
I love her. I
Um,
think she is very unsung.
and then
Yeah.
Matthew Beard. And there's also
Okay.
another guy who I always recognize and stuff who's in it, but he's not in it. That he's very much a secondary part of the movie at most.
Uh-huh.
I mean, his part's very important, but he's not in it very much.
Yeah.
He's the guy who plays the serial killer in Trick or Treat that has the son.
Oh,
Is it Matthew
Philip
Beard?
Baker Hall.
Yeah, he's in it as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He is fantastic. He can do deadpan like no
That's
one
what
else's
that's what he
business.
is in this movie. It's very much like,
Okay, all right.
he's the like local sheriff.
Oh, okay. Oh, nice. Yeah, I'd like to see this. Yeah, that sounds like a really stellar cast.
It is, and it's very much. I think I put it in my write up. If you like the Legend of Bluebeard and you liked Ex Machina, then this is definitely a movie for you.
Because that was in my head when you mentioned clones. All of a sudden, that movie flashed in. Yeah,
It's definitely got that kind of past what we can currently do in science thing going on.
Yeah,
And it's just because we can, should we?
mm-hmm.
And then it turns out like when it gets away from like, are we doing this for the betterment of humanity, or are we doing this to fulfill, one person's whims?
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Like another nod. I'd say kind of like that movie Splice, which wasn't the greatest, but
I enjoyed Splice.
yeah. It's got its problems, but it was fun. It was fun. It was it's like a family friendly version of Species.
Oh, that's a really good way of putting that. I never thought about it that way.
Yeah. It doesn't go heavy into gore, and they tone. I mean, I would say instead of like overtly sexual, it's overtly romantic. Because it's all about the romance. I don't know what I'm saying. There was sex in that movie, but
there was sex in that movie. There was some sex in that movie, baby.
Oh, baby, they was getting sexy. The bull of the woods.
Oh, so this is what I was going to show off.
Yeah. What do we got? Ooh. Yeah.
Frankenstein Lives.
That looks great.
It is. It's huge. I did not realize it was going to be this big.
Whoa.
It's like here's a Motu size dude.
Oh my god. Oh, so he's
a 5.5 scale figure is like waist high on Frankenstein.
That's crazy.
And I like horror characters to begin with.
Yeah.
And I didn't know much about DC's Frankenstein, and then I read Seven Soldiers of Victory, and I was like, "Oh my god, this character is amazing."
DC's Frankenstein is
and then
fucking awesome.
Yeah, I started like just seeking out anything that he was in. So like I have the trades of like Frankenstein, Agent of Shade.
Yeah,
I love all that stuff.
Yeah,
I really enjoy, the Creature Commando stuff that he's in. I enjoy that kind of weird side part of the DCU, just like I do in the Marvel universe as well.
Yeah, man.
So I'm stoked that we're getting a Creature Commandos movie with Frankenstein.
Wait, what? When?
Yeah, we're getting an animated flick.
Ooh,
it's one of the first things that Gunn is doing.
Well, hats off to you, Mr. Gunn. Although I was watching an interview with him the other day, and he was trashing the Batman '89 soundtrack. I was like, "Excuse me, sir. Party Man is a classic, and I will hear no other opinion on the matter."
I don't know why he would trash that. I mean,
I think it was just him kind of being a little James Gunny at the time.
Yeah, I don't always understand why. I mean, I think if I was in the shoes of any of those of a director,
Mm-hmm.
I would just be like, when someone asked my opinion about someone else's work, if I didn't like it, I'd be like, hey man, it's not for me, but
Yeah.
the movie got made, so it means it was for somebody.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and
Rather
that's,
than, pulling a fucking Scorsese and like shitting on an entire genre or
yeah. Yeah, and that's and even if like with Scorsese, I do agree with him, but the way he states it is just like, come on,
it's
man.
needlessly antagonistic.
Yeah, yeah,
And it's like, well, you're not paying attention to my movies, so
yeah.
these movies are making money and therefore they're the problem. It's like,
Well, yeah, it's
buddy, where you haven't been vocal about any other fad.
mm-hmm. No, yeah, I think it's
I
just
I haven't heard him bitch about Star Wars.
well, because that's his good buddy George made that.
That's my thing. Is it's just like,
Yeah. No, yeah, yeah, that whole class, they all have, I mean, Spielberg and Lucas, they're master filmmakers, sure, but I mean, their biggest hits and most loved stuff are straight up pulpy, fun, Saturday morning serial adventures just put into the big screen. And
well, write what you know.
Yeah.
That's what they know and love.
yeah,
So
and Scorsese grew up around a bunch of fucking wise guys, and that's what his worldview
yeah,
is, and his love of Rolling Stones. And I don't, it's yeah.
David
Like
Lynch loves pie and things from the 1950s.
yeah, and coffee and cigarettes,
Yeah.
and and just really just surreal imagery. And yeah, I don't know, which that's I love Kevin Smith, because he goes so far out of his way to not shit on people. Like, I remember someone had asked him something about Zack Snyder, and he's like, well, he's a hell of a shooter, his movies look beautiful. It was just like, yeah, very judicious. Thank you.
Yeah, and I also think with him, he's been the target of people.
Oh God,
so
yeah.
much. I got a feeling he's kind of like, okay, yeah, I don't feel the need to shit on somebody on their, let fans do that work. I don't need to fucking do it.
Yeah, no, he's and I don't know, people's mileage kind of varies with him. I do like him though. Not all of his movies are great.
Kevin Smith had a real strong moment in time, and then he kind of just burned through that goodwill for me.
I do love Red State though. That's a very,
I need to rewatch Red State.
That's a personal favorite of mine. That really kind of hit a raw nerve with me when I saw it the first time. And Clerks, that I saw that at the right time, and I will forever enjoy that movie. Although I will say Clerks 3 was absolutely trash, and I do regret watching it.
Well, I repainted this face, and I think now it matches the skin.
Oh, yeah!
Perfectly.
Oh, yeah, you did a really good job with that.
We'll see how this takes after the wash sets, but I feel like
nicely done.
Turned out pretty good, and it gives it a little depth with the wash at the end.
Yeah. Me likey.
Me like it.
Me like a long time.
I don't know.
Yeah. Danny Elfman. What about Danny Elfman? Who's how he's crazy ripped at like 68, and it's a little unnerving. Because he is, and it's weird.
He's a weird beard.
He's a weirdo. He's a beardo. Although I love his music videos for that last album he put out are so just nightmare fuel. I love it.
So I think this is about done too. As far as like, I think the head's finally about right.
Yeah.
Wise. And I go.
Did that head come like that?
No, I had to paint it.
That's crazy.
It's taken a few paint applications. I was very dissatisfied with about 3 of them.
Oh. Where is this thing? There we go. Oh, I'm so excited. The kids are off of school for 3 days. Wait, did I say excited or did I say terrified? Nah, I just got to do a ton of yard work around the house, so we're gonna do that. And
they're pretty good little helpers with that stuff.
Killian's really good. Maeve, she'll do like one thing and then she'll go scoot in the driveway on her scooter for a long time, which is fun because she does like performative dance on her scooter, and it's just a delight to watch. Although that usually means about like 1 out of 10 loops around the driveway results in a horrific crash that then requires like massive amounts of
first aid.
Yeah, or not even like, but just like reassurance that she will one day get over this pain and won't be there forever. There will be another day of fun in her future.
Yeah, when you're young like that, you live and die with every moment.
Oh yeah. No, like so that
somewhat beautiful at the same time, real fucking aggravating.
Oh yeah, so that's and I remember like pain being so overwhelming whenever you get hurt when you're a little kid. So I always try to stress, like, yeah, I know it hurts now, but in a little while it might not. So let's just hold on to that and focus on feeling better. And sometimes it works. Sometimes I need to bust out the ice cream and go DEFCON 5 with the treats.
Sometimes you get a bribe.
You gotta get them bribes, and you are feeling good. You are.
Power of positive chance.
You mean your awesome wife telling them it just doesn't hurt is fine? Is it fine?
What are you
My
talking
dad
about,
used to milk our mouse.
What?
I know I've told
you what?
Before.
Wait, what? My mind is being milk a mouse?
Yeah.
So you were like straight up
bitching a bunch about how much something's hurt. He would say, "Let me milk your mouse," and he would take your pinky like this.
Oh, okay.
And then he push up. Oh my god!
Oh no, and he's thank you.
Whatever you said hurt doesn't hurt anymore.
Yeah, no thanks.
God. Oh my god! I can remember the first time I dislocated my shoulder, and I was bitching about it. And my brother had a broken arm at the same time because he fell backwards out of a tree.
I don't mean to laugh. I'm sorry.
No, he climbed a fucking willow tree in a pair of cleats, and then he got he got up like really high on there, with like, yeah, oh god, and fell backwards.
Oh no!
It was actually really funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it happened to him.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. No, I get that.
But he was bitching about being in pain. I was bitching about being in pain. And my dad, I think, had enough.
Yeah.
Of bitching. So he would milk our mouse. And then later on in life, he would threaten to do the same thing. The nice thing is he only really had to do that a couple times before we both were like, yeah, I don't want that. I'll just shut up.
Yeah. Ooh, check this out. Interior's getting built. Got a little crystal, some little mushroom. Looking nice. Nice.
The first time I ever picked him up, because my dad was a big guy.
Yeah.
I was in high school and he was complaining about back pain, and I just grabbed him.
Yeah.
Picked him up and popped his back, and he turned around. His eyes are just all full of tears. I didn't realize how hard I'd squeezed him.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Don't ever do that again." I was like, "Are you gonna cry?" And he's like,
"It's really dusty in the house."
Well, no, he was like, "I think you just popped one of my ribs out."
Oh.
And I was like, "Ew, When we were younger, we were at a family reunion and we were playing kickball, and his old fat ass thought he'd be cute, and he got there and he kicked it really, really far, and one of my cousins, who was a collegiate football player, and played in the NFL for 2 years, just took off dead sprint, caught the ball, and turned around and threw it and hit my dad in the legs. And we were using bricks as bases because we were just at a park. He fell on this brick.
Yeah.
We were like, "Oh God, are you okay? Are you?" "Oh yeah, I'm fine. Everything's fine." That night, nobody slept because you could just hear him going, "Ooh!" every time he moved. He had broken 3 ribs. and he was like refusing to go in. And my
Jesus.
mom, who was a nurse, was like, "John, you're gonna go into the fucking
Yeah.
doctor. Like, this is stupid. You've got floating broken ribs."
Yeah.
Oh no, I don't. Just just a little bit of pain. Just a little bit of pain. I'm fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just like whenever they would bitch about me doing something dumb, I would be like, "Oh, you mean like not immediately taking medical advice? Oh, I wonder where the fuck I got that from."
Oh yeah.
I wonder where that part
sounds
of me came
familiar.
from.
That whole generation, they're so fun.
I'm slow. Sorry.
They're so fun.
Yeah, I mean, hey, his dad. I can remember I lived over with my grandparents for a while, and my grandpa came home during lunch hour, and he'd been shot. He was chief of police, and he had been shot, and he was so pissed off that it ruined his uniform. And my grandma was like, "What?" I just remember sitting there going,
"I'm gonna have to get it cleaned."
No, it had a hole in it. He was all pissed off about a hole in it. And you don't think much about that because you're just like, oh, he's just a tough old man.
Yeah.
When I got a little older, I'd asked about a picture of him kissing what looked like a girder. And it was actually on the ship he served on in World War II. And he's kissing a bulkhead. And I had asked my grandma, well, why? That's dumb. And apparently they'd gotten strafed by a Japanese plane. And his skinny ass hid behind a girder because it actually took up his whole body. And the girder ate like 6 bullets.
Holy shit.
Yeah, that was like, oh, he's, he had been stabbed, he'd been shot, my dad had been stabbed twice pretty good. Once in the stomach, got a huge, like, 10-inch scar, and he'd been shot twice.
Ugh.
So it was like police work, baby.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because he was...
Yeah.
He was a cop for a number of years, and then he was Tri-State Homicide, and then he was Kansas Bureau of Investigation for 3 years.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. He helped to prosecute organized crime.
Very nice.
And then he got tired of watching people walk.
Oh. That's no good.
So the area that I was born in is an area of Kansas called the Little Balkans.
And
okay,
I'm getting a picture here.
The town I was born in is like 85% Italian.
Okay, yeah.
So the stories I always heard was you could go into the police station and you could see people's names and faces on the FBI's top 50, and you would see them in town because they were visiting family.
Yeah.
And you weren't going to say or do shit. So.
Oh, yeah.
It'd be a good way to end up on a fucking milk carton. Which I was always just like, what?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, it was just always mind-bending to me. Like, it's the same thing I think, like, when you get a little older, I'm sure you've run into this. You grew up on the range. When people that you know but don't know really well, and you start to hear about shit that went on in where you grew up, and you start to go, what? That shit didn't happen. And people will be like, yeah, you just didn't fucking know about it. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, so-and-so's a real piece of shit. And you're like, really?
Yeah. Yeah, I also have that with Waseca, Minnesota. That's where both my parents are from, and we spent a lot of time down there. And my dad's dad was the sheriff there, and he died, on the job and everything, getting shot. So, we were all kind of treated like minor, kind of celebrity in a way, like you're Don's grandson, or that kind of a thing. And
we got that too.
Be pretty nice to you. And then once you get older and you start getting the real stories from the adults, because now you're an adult. Like, it's just like, oh, that person's that. Okay. They did the
yeah.
what?
The one nice thing I can say is
Mhm.
I always worried when I got older that people would be like, and especially after my grandpa died, that they would shit on him. And it was the exact opposite.
Yeah.
And it was the same thing with my dad. With my dad, when he died, people show up to the funeral, to the afterwards, the wake portion, and I was always like, because you know, my dad was kind of shitty at the end, and I was worried people would be like, "Oh, what a fucking bastard." And a lot of people came out of the woodwork who, like, I hadn't seen since I was a kid, and they were telling stories, and I just remember looking at my grandma and my mom and going, how come we never knew about any of this?
Yeah.
How come we didn't know about like awards and medals he'd won or things like that for being like good at his fucking job? And you know, the one story that I got told that really like shocked me was that so where he was a cop when he first started out is where I was born is a town called Pittsburgh, and there is a tremendously successful Division II university there. And that's where my cousin was an All-American. He won 2 Division II national titles in his 4 years there. They're always a power in Division II football. They've got this cool mascot. It's a gorilla. So it's just really cool. Like, I love Pittsburgh. I love when we get to go back. It's a real interesting place. You will literally cross the street and you're in another town called Frontenac, which is almost exclusively Polish.
Is it like kind of a Springfield Shelbyville vibe going?
No, it had more to do with like keep the Italians keeping the Polish out.
Oh man.
And then about 10 miles down the road, you have another town called Girard. And it is a lot of like Armenians, Bosnians, kind of that Yugoslavian tribalism. That little area of the Balkans is like all these little towns, and they're like all of them like 80% one type of nationality.
Yeah. That reminds me a little bit of like Hibbing. That it's all like it's all Swedes and stuff up there.
Yeah, it's strangely like closed off kind of.
Yeah. Like you get the idea that they made this community for themselves.
Yeah. Not necessarily overtly racist, but not necessarily welcoming. And you can imagine that probably in the 50s it was just overtly fucking racist. So they were telling the story about one winter.
Super Spike, that's great, buddy.
Oh man.
Yeah, that's you love. You love stuff like that, man.
Oh yeah. So they were telling the story that there was the middle of winter and some kid went out on the ice and fell in.
Oh, okay.
So my dad got there and he went in after him.
Yeah.
And it was freezing water, and they eventually apparently had to pull my dad out because he had hypothermia and he was starting to get frostbite.
Okay, yeah.
But he never found the kid.
No.
And the guy who was there, because my dad's partner was my uncle.
Okay.
And my uncle or I should say my uncle, he was my dad's cousin, so he wasn't really my uncle. So I don't know what he would be in that case. But
so he's like your second cousin then?
Yeah, kind of. And he died like super tragically. One of the only times I ever saw my dad cry. He was leaving from the airport, and then his plane got struck by lightning on takeoff and blew up.
What?
And I remember when I was a kid and we found out, and I found my dad in the basement just sobbing because my actual uncle's 11 years younger than my dad. But John Earl was the same age as my dad.
Big gulf, yeah.
Yeah. Because my dad, John Edward, and my second cousin or whatever you call him, you know, John Earl, and then my grandpa, John Franklin. Everyone named John. We were talking about this the other night. I was like, everybody in my family has a nickname. So we would go to like Missouri for family reunions, and everyone would be like, how's your grandpa Pete? And I'd be like, who is this Pete guy? And they'd be like, Pete, Piccolo Pete, swinging on the grapevine. How's your Uncle Pete or your Grandpa Pete? And I'd be like, I don't know who this motherfucking Grandpa Pete guy is, but I don't know him. So eventually, everyone was like, your Grandpa John is Pete. And I was like, why? And they're like, oh, when he was a kid and they lived over by Hannibal, Missouri, they would swing on grapevines into the Mississippi. So he got the nickname Piccolo Pete, swinging off a grapevine. I was like, Jesus Christ, you fucking hillbilly.
Yeah.
So anyway, with my dad, I didn't know anything about
Piccolo
this.
Pete.
Yeah, my dad was Bub. When I was young.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was Bub, and
that's great.
My brother, for the longest time,
love a good Bub.
My brother was Newt the Goose for the longest time. Oh no, excuse me, was Natty Bumpo, which is from the Deer Slayer.
Ooh.
And
yeah, dude, yeah.
And when I was probably like 9 or 10, and my brother was like 4 or 5, my dad was like, "Hey, Bumpo, come here. I need this thing. I need you to grab this thing for me." And my brother turned and looked at him. I distinctly remember this. He said, "Who's Bumpo?" And my dad was like, "That's your nickname. You know it's your nickname." Like, he was like, "I'm not Bumpo. I'm the Duke." And my dad was like, "What?" And he's like, "I'm the Duke." So then from then on, he was the Duke. My dad died fucking my dad literally died laughing. It's one of those moments I'll always remember, because he looked so incredulous, like my brother did, like 4 or 5 years old, like just like fucking staring down my giant dad, and my dad was like, "All right." All right.
Yeah, okay, you're the Duke.
And looking back on it, like my brother,
the Duke, number one.
My brother and I've talked about it in the past, because he's like, "I don't remember that." And I was like, well, I know why you can't remember it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because you burned up a ton of brain cells when you were younger. But like, I remember that, and I fucking don't remember anything. So it's just so vivid in my head. Anyway, I got totally off track. Yeah, my dad had gotten like a medal for bravery for doing that, and he got so upset about it, he tossed the medal in the lake. And I was like, what? And the guy was like, yeah, it broke his heart. He couldn't save that kid. And I was like, this is fucking crazy. Oh. Like, how come I looked at, I was talking to my mom, and I was like, how come no one ever talks about this shit? And he's like, it was upsetting for him.
Yeah.
You know? I was like, yeah, but he like did something good. Like, that's a good thing. I mean, yep. So it didn't matter. I was like, fuck me. You think you know somebody, and when they die, all the shit comes out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. For sure, man. For sure. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. Indeed. What's next on your watch list? What's next you think you need to watch?
Either You Might Be the Killer, or
that's pretty good.
Is it I'm Not a Serial Killer?
Yeah, I'm Not a Serial Killer is they're both. I think you'll like both. I think. I guess. I think you'll like both. Looking back, I guess.
No, I will. I promise.
All I could think of was
this next one I like.
was for a second there was Ordinary Sausage. Welcome back, I guess.
Yeah. And then earlier, like just a few minutes before jumping on here, I finished watching Never Hike Alone Part 2.
What'd you think?
I liked it.
Did you feel like its reach was greater than its grasp?
Yeah.
It's like a movie that so wanted to do more, but you could tell when the budget just is like not there.
Yeah, and I could definitely tell at parts where it's like, oh, you guys definitely had a break in filming before you came back to do this scene, because people are looking markedly older all of a sudden. But
yeah,
I don't know.
For the budget,
I applaud them. Yeah. It's I don't know, like
when you can do that much with that property on no money, and every studio that we've seen take a stab at it can't remotely get it right, and they're pouring millions of dollars in. I mean,
Yeah, no, that's the thing is I definitely forgive them any faults they might have. I mean, because well, it's a fan film, let's be honest, and they're doing it on such a small budget, but also they really have continued the story in a way I am really, really kind of happy with. Like, it's I love Tom Matthews as
Tommy Jarvis.
what's his nuts? Yeah, it's little Tommy Jarvis. And yeah, I applaud that, and I really he gives it his all, and it's a nice collaboration where it it really feels like a work of love
Yeah,
and
there's an
not just some
earnestness
kind of
to
like,
it.
well, let's yeah. And I really appreciate that about it. And I it those movies have really kind of turned me around overall on my opinion of like fan made films. I used to not really be into them at all and kind of look down on them a bit, and that really Never Hike Alone and Never Hike in the Snow um really turned me around, and now I've really come to embrace it. And um I think when done um with like the best intentions and with that earnestness, you can really sometimes capture a little bit of magic and tap into what made these properties great in the first place.
Yeah, it's really well put.
So yeah, I like. So yeah, I yeah,
I'm glad
I
you
had a
dug it
blast
because
with it. Yeah,
you were the one who reminded me it was coming out, and I was like, "Oh shit, that's right," which I really
yeah,
appreciated.
yeah. I was very excited that, especially that it was coming out on the 13th and October and all that. Just it was, yeah, I was so pumped. And it turned out to be all right. It was, I might say the first one's better. But
I think it's a
it's
situation where they're better off doing. This is my opinion. They're better off doing something like Never Hike Alone or Never Hike in the Snow because you can get away with more flaws when you're not trying to do something that big.
true.
You
Yeah,
can
yeah.
hide
And then
so much
yeah, and
more.
it allows also for those flaws, because like, yeah, when you pump a bunch of money into something and you're trying to go for that studio slickness, that studio gloss, and you can tell um that it's fallen into the trap that sometimes goes hand in hand with a studio film, is there's the lack of care, the lack of like scrutiny, where it's like, this could be better, um and we have the money to make it better, but who gives a fuck, like
Yeah.
that comes across sometimes in so many, like I don't know why, but I keep thinking of, and I like this movie quite a bit, but I think of like Freddy versus Jason, how there's just this early 2000s slickness to it, and this kind of studio sheen that those properties hadn't had in a while, that also lends itself to like there being no care for, well, this is who these characters should be and this is what they should, that
No,
kind of
it's
thing.
you can tell it's a paycheck.
Yeah, and
And
yeah,
that the studio is just saying, "Hey, this is
yeah,
a money grab." I mean, you guys
yeah,
know this, right? Like,
and yeah, like it's yeah, and I know, and like I said, I do like Freddy versus Jason, but at the same time, like it was a little bit of a letdown, because when you've seen like what some of the fans had come up with in their own, like, I wish we could do this, or the phenomenal Freddy versus Jason versus Ash comics, like what could have like gone if just someone threw a little caution to the wind and was like, let's make this not just to turn a profit and like get some kids in here, but like let's actually try to put some ingenuity in it. Let's let's give this to someone who's got something to prove. And, you know, like they used to do with particularly the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, they'd give it to all these younger people who are kind of looking to make themselves. And they would put so much fun and creativity into those movies, even though, like, you know, maybe the story isn't the strongest, you know, and it's just this kind of slasher film, but like, gosh, man, some of those visuals that you could get and some of the creative kills that you get and stuff like that really were quite fantastic. And I don't know. I'm going off on a rant here now.
No, you're good. I mean, I don't disagree with you at all.
Well, thank y'all.
There was a time when those movies were, you know, they basically were the new AIP. They were the new place where you could get who was going to be hot next. You know, Corman.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Run its course. So, you know, New Line and some of those studios were just like, we think this person has something in them, so we're going to give them this, because it's basically
and it was
it's an unkillable.
It was like
so
yeah. It
wasn't.
It was cool because, like, I mean, even though they like it gave it that those movies opened the doors for so many people. Like, I don't even know if people realize, like, Peter Jackson was able to do Lord of the Rings because he had originally written a spec script treatment for one of the Nightmare movies, because everyone was so jazzed about what he had done with Brain Dead / Dead Alive.
Mm-hmm.
And even though they ultimately went not with his script, he had fostered such a good relationship with Bob Shea that when he came back to Bob Shea and was like, hey, I've got an idea to do these 2 movies and make the Lord of the Rings, Bob Shea was like, no. You're going to make 3. Boom, baby.
So that's because
yeah,
Bob Shea just saw dollar bills.
Oh yeah, no, Bob. Yeah, I know. I'm painting him in a very, like, beneficial light, but let's be honest, Bob Shea, like a cartoon cat or something, all of a sudden his eyes turn into dollar signs. Yeah. That's Peter Jackson's like, I want to make Lord of the Rings. Cha-ching.
Yeah, Bob Shea is not a patron saint of anything except for greed.
I'll say he's Lin Shaye's patron saint.
That's true.
Although
you got
like
me
Lin
there.
Shaye.
I like Lin Shaye as well.
Yeah, and also hats off to the Insidious franchise for making a woman in her 70s the heroine of your saga. Like, way to go. And not doing it like Exorcist Believer, which
I've not heard good things.
I'm glad I saw it just because of how awful it is. It was so bad. I was howling with laughter. Because this is weird because I do like Danny McBride and I do like David Gordon Green, particularly their comedies. I have some issues with half of Halloween Kills and definitely some majority of Halloween Ends, although I have come around a bit more.
But did Evil die tonight? That's what I really
Evil. Listen, Sheriff, we've been watching this police fail tonight and only tonight. So now we're going to start a mob because we need to make a really ham-fisted allegory. Ugh, God. And we're going to cast Anthony Michael Hall for some reason. When Paul Rudd was right there. He's right there. And Paul Rudd was in part 6.
Yeah.
Playing a young...
a grown up.
Why did I want to call him Tommy Jarvis? And
he was the grown up kid that he was all grown up. Can't remember what his name was. So.
I was watching Red Letter Media the other day, and they were like just kind of bagging on it a little bit. Watching an old review of that, and I think it was Jay Bauman was like, I love the idea that this is something he like that whole scene where he's in the bar and gets up on the stage, that like this is something that character does like almost like every night probably, and it's just like the guy that all the locals are like, shut the fuck up. Like, we get
I
it.
really like most of Red Letter Media. I really do. But man, there are days when Mike Stoklowski, or however you say his last name, grates
Yeah.
on my fucking nerves
Oh
beyond
yeah.
anything else.
Yeah. He is such a professional contrarian, needlessly at points where it's just like, okay, I get it. I get it. But yeah, I'd say he's the one that grates on me the most.
Yeah, I love Jay. I think Jay's really
Yeah.
smart. I
Mhm.
agree with most of the things he says. I love Rich Evans just because he's Rich
Yes.
Evans. He's
I
just so
think he needs to be protected
yeah.
at all costs.
He's
That
he's
Rich.
such a good national treasure. And then the
Yeah.
rest of the cast of characters that kind of come in and out, I'm
Mhm.
pretty good with most of them.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah, Mike, and not say I don't like Mike, but yeah,
He
it's
makes it really hard
sometimes it's just
sometimes.
like, yeah, sometimes it's just like, dude, just go take a nap. Especially when he sometimes gets on this weird soapbox about like wokeness and stuff like that. But then like
Oh, I haven't heard
later, maybe a
that.
few episodes. Yeah, no, like on the Exorcist thing, he was like, we should call it maybe the Wokercist. And it's just like, you're saying that, but then like you're also the guy who will go, into a diatribe about how dumb like MAGA politics are and all that shit and stuff like that. And
If you're
so it's
using
just
that,
like,
if you're using that to justify your opinion, if you have to use the word woke or the idea of wokeness, your opinion sucks. You're just using
yeah,
that
and
because it's a
it's
buzzword.
very much, yeah, it's him, and that's exactly it. It's a buzzword, I think, and yeah, I definitely get like he is a full on fucking grump at times, and I think when his grumpiness rears up, he all of a sudden turns into like a boomer, even though he's not one. And
Yeah, I would
it's
agree. No,
just
I think
like,
you're dead on right with that. So
it's yeah,
there's a streamer that I enjoy usually
mm-hmm,
named Raptor.
huh,
He streams, games that I enjoy usually, and he does a lot of like previews
yeah,
games that I might enjoy. He does that too, where it's just like he'll be like today I was watching him play a new game and I was like, oh, this game's interesting. And then all of a sudden,
mm-hmm,
like out of the blue, because someone in the comment section just said something dumb, he went off on like making fun of Minecraft streamers for like 20 minutes. And I was about like,
yeah,
like and subscribe. I mean, what 100 days? And I was like, I also like a lot of people who do that, and it's kind of like real wholesome
yeah,
shit. So shut the fuck up,
yeah,
man. Like,
yeah, no, yeah,
what is the point of that? Like, that was not even a part of the conversation, my man. You just
yeah.
like popped off about something dumb, and it's like I never understand why because he's like a very successful guy. It's like, why punch down?
I do not get that like phenomenon at all these days of like, yeah, I've attained this for myself and I'm doing pretty well. And you know who I'm going to target? These people who are less off than me. And
Who
like,
don't have and also probably don't have the means or
yep,
the microphone to fucking
yep.
punch back at all.
Yeah, definitely without the same platform that a lot of these people have, but it's yeah, I don't know. Like it's just like, shut the fuck
And
up.
generally they're the same group of people who then be like, if someone complains about them doing it, goes, when do we get soft? And it's
Yeah.
like, soft is the shit you're pulling, man. Because I can guarantee you wouldn't be saying that to a group of people who disagree with you.
Yeah.
Even a fucking musclehead like Dave Chappelle isn't going to talk a bunch of shit in a room full of people who are going to go, hey, man, shut the fuck up.
Yeah. I noticed he eases up on his bullshit when he doesn't have a huge audience that is hanging on every word around him. I used to love Dave Chappelle so much, and then
I
all
did
that
too. And
anti-trans shit just broke my fucking heart.
Yeah.
Like, because it's just like, it's so, I don't know. And then using that one woman to like just completely hide behind his own shitty behavior and be like, well, no, this is my token friend. It's just like, I see what you're doing, Dave. It's not cool at all.
Yeah. And for a guy who,
Yeah.
had this fucking world by its
Mm-hmm.
by a string for a while,
Yeah.
and was all like, you know, the man is this, the man is that. It's like you went away and you fucking became the man.
Yeah. I once, I think after like his first kind of big comeback special, and after I was just like, oh, he's kind of gotten like really right wing. I was just like, yeah, you know, Dave Chappelle probably came out as a rich old white man today. Like, because he's like morphed into that, and like, I don't know, it's just, I don't know,
I think
like,
that's kind of
it's
I think
hilarious
that's
because
kind of
like,
the heat death version of comedy, though, because like look at like Bill Maher,
yeah,
Dennis Miller, all those guys who were considered,
oh
you know, pretty
god,
edgy and, you know,
yeah,
real far
Mhm.
liberal, and they've all turned into rich fucking old white guys.
yeah,
You know, some of them straight up are crazy
oh god,
fucking.
yeah, I was a huge Dennis Miller guy,
Yeah, I was too.
yeah, and I was a huge Bill Maher guy, and then all of a sudden it's just like, you know, like after 9/11, like Dennis Miller's mind completely broke. And then like just, I don't know, last 5 years or so, Maher's really gone on this like Islamophobia crusade, and it's just like, I am not fucking here for this at all. Thank you, no thank you.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, man. And it sucks because like they have such a huge platform, and like they used to use it for, you know, actually like taking aim at the people who had the power and were trying to fuck over people without it. And now it's all like, oh, you want a little bit of something for yourself, but you are not exactly like me. Well, this isn't going to stand. And it's just like, go fuck off.
I remember watching Maher in Bernie Sanders talking, and he was bitching about the debt relief for college kids, and he was just
Really?
going on and on and on, and finally Bernie was like, you keep saying this, but like you're not like using a practical application of the reality of the situation. And he was like, I don't understand what you mean. I disagree. And Bernie said, you went to college, correct, Bill? Yeah. About how much did your college education cost? And he gave this number, and it was like $5,000. And he said, do you know how much it costs right now? And this was like a super boomer moment, because he was like, no. And he's like, yeah. And yet here you are telling your audience, both in person and your audience through HBO, that these people are complaining about this. And he started giving numbers of what state colleges cost. And Bill Maher's face completely changed. And he literally said, I'm wrong. You're right. That's ridiculous. I mean, I was shocked.
Well, you know what?
And the whole thing was,
kudos to Maher.
When you have a conversation built around facts and not about people's uninformed opinion, or you're not having someone push the jealousy or anger or fear button, people start to see that no one wants what you have. They just want to have something.
That's exactly it. That is exactly it. But yeah, and that's what that other side uses, the fear. They want what you have. They're coming for this. It's just, and it works. And that's the saddest fucking thing ever, is how easily it works. And it, man. Ooh. Yeah,
all right.
Like having like,
on a side
oh shit,
note,
we're at 8.
Yeah. On a side note, I'm putting it in the main chat. Wendigoon watched Rolling Giant today, or maybe it was yesterday, which is Kane Pixel's new thing, and he watched it with Kane Pixels and Alex Kister, the guy behind the Mandela catalog.
I saw that he had Kister on.
He's had Kister on a couple times, but he's friends with both those guys.
Wow.
Yeah, they were
crazy.
They were in the chat, and he goes, "You guys just want to come on a call?" And they were both like, "Yeah, sure." And then they just take great joy in him freaking out over the jump scares, because he does not handle jump scares well.
No, he doesn't. I love that. Like,
also, I don't know. I feel like it's getting there.
That looks wild.
I think it's going to look
so good.
pretty good when everything's said and done, and I get the head drilled out all the way.
Oh heck yeah, dude! That looks awesome right now.
So I really am starting to enjoy the way it looks. I think it'll look
Yeah.
super cool when it's done, and when the other black and white versions are done. My friend, where can people find your beautiful Vistage? Dutch angle! Ah!
Why is it tilted so much? Cause they're Dutch. Because wait, where you find me? You'll find me Sundays probably at prep school and stuff like that. Coming up next Thursday, not this Thursday, but next Thursday we've got a good old Spoopy Boys coming up, and we're gonna be watching 30. We're gonna be discussing 30 Coins, a Spanish
I got to get on that
horror series. Yeah.
Well, look at it.
HBO Max.
I got more Skeleton Boys.
Yeah.
They're coming out of the ground. That guy's coming out
and
out of the weeds back there.
Fingers crossed that my new computer comes tomorrow, and if it does, you might see me doing some gaming soon.
That'd be awesome.
Some badass games and stuff. I would love to finally dip my toes into some Project Zomboid. It's been too long.
You can find me next Sunday, prep school. I don't have anything else this week. So I got to watch 30 Coins.
Yeah.
Don't tell Matt I still haven't watched it yet. He'll be so angry with me.
I haven't watched it yet either. The most I did is I put it
right after everything, after the drying of the wash. It looks good. It actually looks like it matches really well.
That looks so much better now. I
mean, I'm super happy because Helga's waist piece from Dungeons and Dragons fits really well.
It looks great. I love it. Zomboys.
And I also Zomboys. And I also finished repainting this head too. So it finally.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Which was already the Beastman-esque figure from AWOC, and it was just too orange, so I painted it red to match that version of Beastman's body that I actually had laid around. And I also, this came in the mail, this head. I got to figure out what I'm going to do with it yet. It's a Thulsa Doom.
I was going to say, is that Thulsa, like...
My mouth opens on this son of a gun. Yeah, it was so I have a person I buy stuff off of an eBay, which is in China. So I get like factory reject stuff sometimes.
No. Yes.
Yeah.
That's cool as hell.
So anyway, you can find me, maybe Colin Sunday. Maybe we'll do some Zomboys soon.
Yeah.
And then you can find
6-demon bag.
Nice.
Wind, fire, all that kind of thing.
I feel pretty good, like pretty invincible. Like I could take. Yeah, I feel good. I need to watch that movie again soon.
Yeah.
And then next Monday is Take Me Home Old Fay Road.
Yep.
It's just the get together to help lay out a little bit more of the world from other people's perspective. So I'm very excited to ask potential players and other people, just ask questions and see what they say and kind of build from their wonderful imaginations and ideas. So we'll see how that all shakes loose too.
Yay.
Otherwise, we're 5 minutes over. So go over to the Dave Wonder channel where you can see delicious Diamond Dave Wonder. And you can see new money, magnificent, magnanimous Matt Lind. And all of his plus actor and all of his sexy ass glory. All right. Thank you. Have a good one. We'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.